So, the EU has once again said that their reason for banning Nathalie Yam from all European nations is because of our affiliation and our support to the African core, which they feel still has the traces of the behavioral psychology of the Wagner machinery when it comes to how they deal with civilians in Mali, which we all do know that that is not true. But ladies and gentlemen, here I am today to bring you the main reason why Nathalie Yamb was suspended by the European Union. Let's watch this video.
Je vous le dis et je vous le répète encore une fois. Si nous ne sortons pas des enclos dans lesquels les Occidentaux nous ont parqués depuis trop longtemps, si nous ne claquons pas la porte du franc CFA, de la francophonie, de la Cour pénale internationale, de l'OMS, de l'accord de Paris sur le climat, de l'aide publique au développement, si nous ne nous mettons pas ensemble pour développer une vision des intérêts et des politiques communes, non pas à travers l'Union africaine, la CEDEAO et la CEMAC, qui sont des instruments complètement gangrénés au service de l'extérieur, mais à travers de nouvelles institutions, alors les 4 prochaines années-là seront les plus risquées et les plus dangereuses pour nous et signeront le retour de la colonisation violente et durable de l'Afrique. On voit tous comment, avec l'arrivée de Trump à la Maison-Blanche, les Européens n'ont même plus voix au chapitre sur les choses qui se passent chez eux. Mais vous, les dirigeants africains, vous les laissez venir décider ce qui doit se passer chez nous. Vous êtes même comment? Ils sont esclaves comme nous et vous les laissez se comporter en maîtres avec nous. Qu'est-ce qui ne va pas avec vous? Dans le moment géopolitique actuel, l'inaction équivaut au retour à la case prison, soumission, exploitation, colonisation. Dans le moment géopolitique actuel, l'Afrique risque d'être le théâtre de la guerre par procuration que Trump va mener contre la Chine après avoir apaisé les relations États-Unis-Russie. Dans le moment géopolitique actuel, le droit international a disparu et seule la loi du plus fort s'applique. Et c'est ensemble que nous sommes forts. En Afrique, nous avons tout ce qu'il faut, sauf les bonnes personnes aux bonnes positions et la bonne mentalité. L'AES montre de façon embryonnaire ce qu'il faut faire. Les autres, arrangez aussi vos pays. La récréation est terminée. Mettez-vous au travail tout de suite.
Now, you will realize that everything that Nathalie Yamb said, if we should look at it practically, everything she said in that video is true. The question is, how much influence will Europe have without Africa? And with the way the global order of economics and of every other thing is going, it seems as if Africa will have a future, Africa has to shove aside Europe. Europe has to let Africa breathe. And if we are being honest, without no oppression, all things being equal, Europe should be behind Africa. All those buildings and all those fines, those things are not enough to compete with the mineral wealth of Africa. Africa is just naturally rich. Africa is a perennial power when it comes to wealth. And you should be proud of yourself as an African wherever you are, because you should have a guarantee that back at home, you have something that no other person has. And Africa is coming to a place right now when you can easily return to Africa from wherever you are all over the world. And that is why we should all appreciate the AES state for fighting against terrorism. And even as a Nigerian that I am, I want to say a very big thank you to all the citizens of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, wherever you are. Because for each terrorist that you all neutralize, you are equally saving all African nations. Because just imagine that This whole thing going on in Nigeria of repentance, Boko Haram, and all of that is the same thing going on. Maybe they are giving amnesty. That means these guys will just continue to, multiply and, pass on their jihadist idea to the young generation. But the more they get neutralized in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Niger, their numbers just keep reducing. And you are reducing their influence equally in Africa. So you all are doing a fantastic job. And I realized something based on the messages that I'm getting lately on this channel. It shows me that this channel is not just a channel, and you all are not just audience in this community. You all are now a movement. You all are now a movement, because some of the questions I get asked, when I'm going about my duty, some people that watch this channel, the questions they ask from me, personal questions, negative questions they try to ask, like, you guys should try to at least retain some. Yeah, I knew that we're doing a very fantastic job on this channel, because if we are not doing a fantastic job, everybody will just be like, yeah, let them do their thing. But when people start feeling personal, why are you supporting this side? Why are you support? We are not supporting any side on this channel. We only bring evidence to the table. Now, as we speak, remember that Captain Ibrahim Traoré has actually spoken about France 24 and RFI Radio, Voice of France, Radio France, and all of that. He once called them a terrorist organization, not even a mainstream media.
You must advise each other and not pay attention to certain remarks, even on some media.
My biggest regret is having spent a good part of my youth listening to radio stations like RFI France 24. I've been to countries where these stations were closed, but we used apps. We recorded their news to listen, but at a certain point, something clicks, and I'm beginning to understand that they condition our brains to accept what they want. It's their narrative they want us to learn. And since then, I've begun to put things into perspective, and I've understood that what they're doing is very dangerous. And today, more than ever, I realize that they've conditioned the minds, especially of Africans.
They manipulate information and they call the necessary authorities that has been, whose image has been dampened, to come and bribe them so that they can change the image. According to the High Communication Authority in Guinea, the broadcast comment of France 24 devoted to Guinea has been deemed derogatory. During the regular plenary session on July 7th, the High Communication Authority noted and regretted the dissemination of inaccurate and net cross-set information and the lack of balance in treatment. In view of the dissemination of the tendentious elements, they are talking about the man we call Wassim Nassar. The High Communication Authority has sent a letter to the President Director General of France 24, Medias Monday, in order to draw our attention to the professional insufficiency. At the same time, the College of the High Communication Authority has recommended that information on Guinea be treated with much professionalism and, above all, impartiality and respect. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Guinea Conakry talking about France 24 right now. And to me, France 24 is even better when you compare it to RFI. You see, the more France continue to meddle in the issues of Africa, the more they continue to lose all respect.
We are called putschists. We are not French. We do not understand what that means. And the local people, who surely do not even understand the profound meaning of the word, also call us putschists. Very well, we appropriate it. Over the years, as far as Burkina Faso is concerned, you may have noticed all the bodies have been destructured. No more training, nothing left for the army. They imposed in all our major states, all our schools and all our strategic structures, what they called military councils. When we revolted on September 30th, 2022, the first thing was to find out who these military councils were and where they were. So we were able to identify that the evil was deep. And the first thing was to ask them to leave our army. They left. And what I told you not long ago, you cannot hope to find your lost object by calling on the one who stole it to come and help you find it. When we asked the military councils to leave, we felt manifestations. We were made to understand that we would not be able to get by without them. And every time they told us, it was translated by attacks on the ground. We received the message well. At the dawn of the year 2023, we decided to tell the foreign forces present here to leave, because we want to fight in Burkina Faso. They did not surely appreciate it, but why come and die on our land for us? We prefer to fight ourselves. We ask them to return home. Unfortunately, I tell you here today, as I like to say, colonization has returned. There are slaves of Ceylon who still have not understood. In the meantime, military officers wrote to us and approached us to tell us that it was a very bad decision and that we would not last 2 months. Files were written. We were sent these files to make a strategic analysis of their thoughts. We said either we are sovereign or we remain slaves forever. Indeed, when the last soldier left Burkina Faso, we understood what it was about. The attacks followed immediately. Dehao, Timnikov, Partiaga, and so on. But what they had forgotten was that the people of Burkina Faso had understood our message.
So it just shows you the type of country that France is. And the proof is coming out right now. Because Guinea, a lot of people have been saying that Guinea is allying with, the bad. But I felt like, because of what Mamadi Doumbouya did at some point by banning all this, taking away a lot of mining licenses and, trying to nationalize a lot of, iron or bauxite mine and all of that in Guinea. I thought, well, maybe he was doing a great job. But now, who knows? But now Guinea is coming out to say that some of the things that has been said on RFI, on France 24 about Guinea is not true. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to some of the things that Nathalie Yam said. So they are saying she's supporting Wagner. No, she's not supporting Wagner. That is the reason why Nathalie Yamb was suspended and her assets were frozen by the European Union. So the fall of France from grace is not a matter of how long, it's now a matter of when. And if France is on the decline in Africa today, the question is, Britain, when is your own fall coming? Because it's imminent. It's starting from the Francophone bloc now. The question is, when will it enter the Anglophone bloc? Because this breakfast is a type of breakfast that everybody will be served. It's just a matter of time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy 7200 signing out, enough said. But before I go,
but if anyone's paying attention, you can all see that Ibrahim Traoré is clearly one of the most consequential leaders, not just in Africa, not just in the Muslim world, but in the entire global South and in fact in the world. You know, I said on X the other day that Ibrahim Traoré is the most important Muslim leader in the world today. More than Erdogan, more than MBS, more than anyone else. Because of what he represents. You know, of course, I had a lot of fake Pan-Africanists in my comment section getting mad about the fact that I was referring to Ibrahim Traoré as a Muslim leader, because they only want to identify him exclusively as a black leader or as exclusively as an African leader. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that he is a Muslim, because in their CIA-produced Pan-Africanism, they're ready to exclude 500 million Africans from Africa. They're so propagandized in their mind by the CIA and by the intelligence that they think being African and being Muslim is a contradiction. They've fallen for the old divide and rule tactics of the colonizers. Their indoctrinated brains will short circuit over the inconvenient fact that the most admired and the most heroic leaders in Africa today are Muslims. In Burkina Faso, in Niger, in Senegal, even Naledi Pandor in South Africa is a Muslim, taking the Israel to the ICJ. Just because Ibrahim Traoré doesn't wear his religion on his sleeve, and just because he doesn't takwa signal, you know, all the time like some so-called Islamists, you think we don't get to claim him as part of our ummah? We don't get to say that he's a Muslim leader, but he is a Muslim leader. He's an African leader who's a Muslim. And I'm sorry to tell you, but again, the fact of the matter is that the best leaders you have in Africa today are the ones who are Muslims. You can get mad about it all you want. You can say, why does Shaheed have to bring up religion? Why do you have to bring religion into it? But that's just a way of gaslighting about the fact that you don't want religion to be brought into it. You want to keep religion out of it. No, Ibrahim Traoré is fighting those Western-backed, Western-trained, Western-funded jihadi groups because he's a Muslim. Nobody has suffered more from those mercenaries than the Muslims have. Suffered more from their violence and suffered more from the warped image of Islam that spread by their violence. Now, when Ibrahim Traoré stands up to those French and Ukrainian-backed psychopaths, he's standing up for real Islamic values, whether you like it or not. From the perspective of Middle Nation, from my perspective, from the prism through which we analyze the struggle for justice and sovereignty and dignity, Ibrahim Traoré's emergence is nothing short of historic. I mean, alhamdulillah, we have many great Muslim leaders in the world today, despite what everyone says. We have great leaders, many. But in my opinion, Ibrahim Traoré is the most important.